Should we restate the different?
All right.
We have it.
You have it?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll just restate for the record. Because of this, I don't know how to fix that. We'll restate for the record that everyone's present except for Adrian Kester.
Adrian has been replaced by Frank Stevens. It's an election.
Frank. My roster's not updated.
Heard of him.
Well, he's around occasionally. So he resigned? No, it was an election. Okay.
Disconnect your audio.
The problem is when I plug this in, it switches to that audio. So I can't do it without that noise happening the entire time that I'm doing it.
Okay.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna disconnect from this thing instead.
All right.
Apologize.
Okay, let's do Pledge of Allegiance, and then I'll make a couple of announcements. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and Member Rizzo will be leading us this evening.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Chair Knight's participating remotely and asked that I try to keep you guys in line here. So we'll see if that's possible. I'd also like to welcome Loretta Wilkin. Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome to the team.
Thank you.
I look forward to having you. And we also have a projection issue this evening. And so we'll be doing a lot of share screen. And so if you have a question, please use the raise hand feature because that'll throw you up into the gallery. Appreciate that. Is there anyone wishing to speak to the committee this evening on a non-agenda item? Okay, seeing none. Move forward, and we have minutes to approve. And did everyone get a chance to look at the minutes from March 20th? And do you want to approve those at this time? Would you like to table those?
This is Diane. I didn't see any objection
Okay.
to it, so I move that we,
This is Sherry, sorry. I don't know if it matters. I think maybe there's the word 2TO that maybe needs to be inserted under 5. And where it says member Castillo White inquired about business owners being invited to sit on TCAP, be to sit on TCAP.
I got it.
Which of them, you guys are reviewing?
March.
Okay, you're talking about the March minutes, which are not a part of the packet.
Right, but you asked us if we wanted to approve
Yes.
those this evening.
Yes, okay, so sorry, can you restate where the location is?
Yeah, in communication number 5, just above the red section where it says Castillo White inquired about business owners being invited to sit, I'm thinking it should say.
Okay, any other changes? Any objections to that change? I should ask first. Okay. Motion to approve as amended?
I move that we approve the minutes of March 20th, 2025 as amended. I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of March 20th, 2025 as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Okay, that carries. Next up is the meeting minutes from April of 2025. That would be the April 17th regular meeting. Any corrections to those? Hearing none. Motion to approve is submitted.
Mr. Chair,
Okay.
Vice
Ms.
Chair,
Cricket.
I move that we approve the minutes as written for April 17th, 2025.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of April 17th, 2025 as submitted. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? All right. Now we look at the meeting minutes of June 3rd, 2025. Any corrections to those? Hearing none. Motion to approve is submitted.
Mr. Vice Chair, I move that we approve the minutes for June 3rd, 2025 as submitted.
And I'll second.
Okay. Same two. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes of June 3rd, 2025 as submitted. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Great. Now, ENA.
Update on the ENA. We have
Usually signed it.
We have officially signed the ENA, so now we're in the process of negotiating the DDA with the development team. We have had one meeting to begin that conversation, so we are hopeful to continue working with them soon. We know that they're on a tight timeline, given some timing considerations from their team, so hoping that things move along quickly, and
We'll keep everyone updated.
we don't really have much of an update other than that.
Okay.
Tim? For Loretta and for UU's initials, can you explain what them signing that meant?
Yeah, so the ENA is an exclusive negotiation agreement. It gives us the ability to negotiate exclusively with their development team for the development of the urban renewal area, which is sometimes referred to as the Confluence at Troutdale. It is the parcel on the other side of the railroad tracks behind the outlet mall, adjacent to the highway and the river. So we went through a long process to select a development team, 20 years in the making. But this group has reviewed the RFQ process a couple of times and went through that twice. And now we're in that negotiation phase to try to reach an agreement with them on how the site would be developed.
Can we receive a copy of that document?
The ENA?
I would have to ask the city attorney that question.
It doesn't have details in it, if that makes sense. It's very legalese.
Got some details.
I mean, it's got details not specific to the site. It only has details specific to the process of negotiating, yeah.
We work on the development agreement.
Yes, which will have details specific to the site.
Other questions for staff on the ENA? Closer.
This is Sherry. I have a question, but I don't know if it relates to this or not. Does this mean that there's something that will be going through the outlet mall? Or that's not yet been in the discussion? I know it was in the discussion, but I mean.
Right. At this time, we don't have any definitive answer to that. It is a desire, as expressed by all of you and by city council and others in the community, to see that happen. And staff negotiating and working on this project knows that that is a top priority to many people in the community. So we just don't have details yet to state one way or another.
Okay, I believe that when I've been down there, the storefront that occupied that street is vacant. And, okay, so.
Coincidence? You never know. Other questions for staff? Okay. Parking management plan.
Can we kick it off?
Sure.
All right. So I believe it was probably late last winter or early spring, we came to TCAB to discuss our downtown parking management plan study that we had kicked off. So here we are, fall of 2026, we're wrapping up this project, the final plan document. I think we get tomorrow, so it should be up online.
I don't know.
We'll have it within the next couple,
Changes.
we'll have it in the next couple of days or a week. So when we do have the final plan document, we will send everyone a note and we will put it online as well.
So a little bit of, Erica just gave an overview, but I'll give it again. The parking management plan gives Troutdale a clear roadmap to manage growth while preserving downtown's small town character. And by prioritizing efficient use of our existing resources, better communication and improved multimodal options, the city can meet current and future parking needs without overbuilding that parking and taking up that prime retail space. The parking management plan shifts Troutdale from reactive to proactive parking management while balancing convenience, safety, sustainability, and economic vitality. And the implementation of this plan will require a lot of collaboration across our different departments and our partner agencies like Multnomah County. But the outcome is a more accessible, vibrant, and welcoming Troutdale for residents, businesses, and we had a project management team. There was project management within the city of myself and Erica, as well as our consultants over at Kittleson. And then we had a technical advisory committee that provided a lot of meaningful feedback in the data collection and the process of creating this plan. They represent a lot of different organizations and also businesses within the city of Troutdale in the downtown area and some residents as well.
The plan's purpose. So the plan's purpose, we have kind of three big themes here. One is to identify parking policies and strategies to improve the overall visitor experience and livability in downtown, as well as Glen Auto Park. We wanted to provide an assessment of parking facilities, so we did this parking survey, which we'll touch on here in just a couple of slides. To examine the current parking usage patterns downtown, some recurring themes about parking downtown that are faced by visitors and residents, and opportunities for improvement. And then you'll see later on in this presentation, we have listed kind of a list of practical solutions and phased implementation measures that the city can think about in the future to enhance our parking management strategies downtown to improve livability. So the study area, it was downtown and also Glen Auto. We also looked at Glen Auto Park, but the off-street parking areas that we looked at included this parking lot out here, the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office. The city conference building, which is right next door here, the North Downtown parking lot, the Mayor Square parking lot, Discovery Blocks, Old City Hall parking lot, the Troutdale House and Depot City Park parking areas, and then once again the Glen Auto Community Park. So the parking inventory, we did this inventory during the summer. On some pretty warm days. So the parking, and I know we talked about this parking inventory at our last meeting, and one of the One of the themes that came up from the last meeting, well, when we did the survey, Wayfinder wasn't actually open. And we all know, and we'll kind of talk about this in the parking strategies, when we talk about parking downtown and finding the correct solutions here in the future, we have to continue to monitor parking downtown. So even though Wayfinder was not open when we did the survey, we'll continue to monitor downtown parking. So we'll get that data here in the future. But the on-street parking is available on both sides of most streets in downtown. Troutdale, approximately 1/3 of all on-street parking stalls have time limits. So you see that most stalls on Kibling and the historic Columbia River Highway have 2-hour time limits. And then some of the stalls on Dora and Harlow have time limits of up to 4 hours. Approximately 2/3 of all on-street parking stalls have no limits or parking restrictions at this time. And then the on-street parking for this survey also included 88 parking stalls and the no loading zones. So overall, when we talk about on-street parking stalls, we have a total of 276 stalls here in downtown Troutdale. 271 are just the general use stalls, and then we have the 5 specialty use parking stalls, which are EV parking and I believe some ADA, and maybe 1 motorcycle stall was included in that as well. I had to think back there. So the parking inventory off-street, and these are all the off-street parking stalls and parking lots throughout downtown. So most of the off-street parking stalls have no time limit. So like Mayor's Square, the north side parking area. But we do offer some overnight parking permits. If people want to park in Mayor's Square overnight in the city, we do have a parking permit program to make that happen. And so off-street parking also includes, oh, here we go, ADA stalls, the EV charging, and the reserved for motorcycle. So our off-street parking stalls in total are 395, 344 general use parking stalls. Anybody, they're not marked as being special in any sort of way. And then we have the 51 specialty use parking stalls, which includes the ADA, EV, and reserved parking.
We probably should have had this slide
Yeah, we should have
before,
we should
but
have had this slide first.
this
but that's
tells you
okay.
the dates that the parking survey was done on. It's in July, on a Thursday and a Saturday. And one of the things that we want to emphasize in this is that July is the busiest month for Troutdale in terms of visitation. That is the month that we see the largest number of out-of-market visitors to the city. So that's people who don't live in the city of Troutdale coming to the city of Troutdale. And so this data collection was done at the ultimate peak time of parking impacts, because this is when most people are visiting our town.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's a great.
I know, it's end of a
That'll get your attention, won't it?
Sorry, I thought I turned it off.
So yeah, so I just wanted to emphasize that July is peak and not necessarily your typical day, because there's so many other days of the year that aren't the busiest time of the year. So here we have a graphic from the parking survey that shows which of those streets and which of the lots are the most, what the occupancy levels are, and there's a gradation of different colors for very occupied versus not very occupied. And so you can see we can identify certain lots that are being used more than others and certain streets that are seeing more use than others. And that helps us in planning which implementation strategies are most important to implement first in each of these locations. Spread some of the parking into other parts of town. We know anecdotally that there's a lot of people that don't necessarily know about some of the other parking areas in town. So for example, that parking lot that's just to the south of Good Coffee There's not a lot of people that are aware that there's a parking lot over there. And so that one doesn't see as much use as Mayor Square parking lot, which is showing up as dark red because it's a very obvious public parking lot that people are aware of.
And, sorry, the parking lot that's just south of Good Coffee, I think in the report it's called like Old City Hall
Yes.
parking lot.
That is a good
So-
point. And also something, there's a future implementation strategy, and one thing you'll know is that, you'll notice is that we don't have designated names for all of our parking lots. So we call them things in this plan, but that's not necessarily an official name. And when you're communicating about parking, it is easier to communicate about it if you actually name all of your parking lots. So Grants Pass is a really great example of where they took their branding and they took their parking plan and they gave every single parking lot a specific name so that when they're communicating about it, it's like the Offspring and Otter lots are 4-hour limits, whereas the Bald Eagle lot is 8. So, you know, it's just a local naming way of being able to identify different lots, and we don't currently have that. We refer to the Mayor's Square parking lot all the time, and there's no sign that says that that's called Mayor's Square. So I've caught myself saying it at the visitor center and having visitors just blankly look at me like, I don't know what that means. And that it caused me to realize that we aren't communicating what we call these parking lots to people. So anyone who's from outside might not know what that is. This is the other parking survey data. So the first one, sorry, I should have stated that. The first one is Thursday at 12 p.m. and the second visual is Saturday at 1 p.m. And you can see that the parking capacity doesn't change at places like Glen Auto, but it does change in our downtown, especially in that north parking lot behind the a lot of the businesses. And we've attributed that largely to the fact that we have a lot of service-based businesses that aren't open on the weekends. A lot of dentists, vision clinic, chiropractor, just different businesses that might not be open on a Saturday. And that lot is almost exclusively used by employees in the businesses within downtown.
Question.
Yeah.
This lot, is it not cordoned off until 7 p.m.?
Yes, now it is, but it wasn't at the time that we did this survey.
Okay,
So that's another thing to keep in mind.
Yeah.
so that would skew it a little bit.
Yes.
The other question I have is when this test was done, what was the vacancy level downtown?
Like vacancy of the storefronts.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think much has
that off
changed.
the top of my head. The only changes that we've seen in terms of new development since the survey was done was Wayfinder in the Highlands,
Right.
the construction of the Home for apartment complex, and that's pretty much it.
Was the soda place open by then?
Yes.
I ask, when you say street parking and general use and the number of stalls, are they painted off as stalls, or is it just general what you decide in size
No.
of vehicle?
No, for on-street parking, we have a very limited number of instances where we've painted stalls onto the streets, and those are pretty much exclusively where there is an ADA parking space. The other stalls are not painted that way, but there's a calculation that you use based on the size of a parking stall. So it's taking into account the distance of how many cars you could fit. So when stalls aren't painted, you're able to have flexibility in if a smart car is parking, it's gonna take up a lot less room than a very large truck would take up on the street. And so that's the benefit of not having the stalls painted, is that you're not limiting the capacity of the street. It can accommodate more generally. But they have a whole calculation for figuring out you can get this many cars on the street.
again, it might not matter, but I have felt like sometimes when I've been in downtown, maybe popping into City Hall or something, that I sometimes look and I go, wow, that person wasn't parked like that. They were in a space for nearly somebody ahead of them and nearly somebody behind them, but they're in such a spot, so, okay, I just was kind of curious.
Yeah, and generally the length for parking stalls, it ranges from like 18 feet to 22 feet. So.
Thank you.
And I know why this is, but when you look at it, the on-street the city has, we have about 1.8% of those are special use. And then the off-streets, with 51, that's like 12.9% of those are specially used. Do we know like what percentage of the special use gets used?
Yes,
Probably 88 the most.
yeah, the ADA parking stalls are the majority of the specialty use stalls that end up seeing use. One of the recommended implementation strategies is to reevaluate the location of the ADA stalls and determine whether they're in the best placement to be used and should they be moved around. And so that could result in potentially more on-street ADA stalls. But I don't know that we have data to specifically say whether those stalls were used over other stalls.
Woodrow. So, so was this in person? You had somebody sitting there watching? What about deliveries? People who parked inappropriately? I've seen, a lot of times when I'm meandering downtown, there's a lot of delivery trucks that come in and take up 3 or 4 spots in a row, right? Yeah, the double park, things like that. Was there any comments like that they witnessed or observed, or how did that, and where did that fit in with everything?
Yeah, so that's the comment about having no loading zones in downtown did come up, and it is in their recommended implementation strategies to have a larger conversation about that. I will say that we used to have a loading zone that was in front of the antique store near Kibling and Historic Columbia Highway, and we were requested to remove that because it was never used as a loading zone. The problem with the deliveries is that every single delivery driver wants to park in front of the place that they're delivering to. And it would take a lot of enforcement to constantly be there to be enforcing that the delivery trucks go to like 1 or 2 loading zones. So there's not a great, short of making the entire downtown a delivery zone, there's not a great solution because based on experience, they won't use it. So we're gonna continue running into that challenge where they're still gonna double park or be in the middle of the historic Columbia River Highway.
And deliveries kind of happen at any and all hours as well.
Ms. Castillo?
When, the number of I found the 200, on-street parking stalls, 276. Do we know how many employees we have in downtown Troutdale that work at the businesses? Did you get a rough number on that?
Our business license form does have a location where people indicate how many employees they have, so with some labor, we could look at every single business license in the downtown and figure out how many employees are in the downtown.
I was just wondering what that ratio was because one example is one of the salons in downtown, and that person was going to come to a council meeting and was not able to because of some conflict, but they're having so much trouble with parking for their customers that some of them are not coming. Some of them are parking at the factory outlet store to come to the salon, and some of the hairdressers are considering not renting there anymore. it's just like, I think knowing how many employees there are can help us really understand how many parking spots are available, especially like with Wayfinder, which has like 8-ish businesses or 9 within that block itself. Just curious if that would help with, like you said, that this is something continuously will be in progress and to be monitored. I think that may be an important thing to find out, because I was also wondering if we had discussed shuttle somewhere along the road, that would it be not a good idea to have a shuttle from the factory outlet to downtown? It's short, and then it might provide the outlet with additional customers, because then you're kind of saying, well, hey, you could visit here and shop here, or you could also shop here. Yeah, just throwing that out for now, because my head, I'm always thinking shuttles, if how would that work throughout town or whatever, but if people already are starting to do that, to try to go to their services in downtown Troutdale. But then I understand too, we'll also have that, if we ever get that park, always monitored, because if we ever get the parking structure down at the URA area, then we can evaluate how many people will be able to park there and then go underneath the railroad. So I understand that's why it's always gonna be changing.
Yeah, the employees of the businesses do take up a large portion of the parking, and the thing that one of the things that we'll be looking at into the future is if there should be designated employee lots that accommodate the longer terms, or, you know, when you implement time limits, it's to encourage turnover. And so right now, Mayor Square parking lot and the North parking lot don't have time limits, so they get used by lots of employees of the businesses, but they're really prime parking spaces for customers. And so we've heard that finding a location for more employees to park that isn't the most convenient parking, so that the customers can retain the most convenient parking, is a desire. I mean, I think one thing you can see in the parking survey map is that not every single street or every single lot is at capacity. And so there is still parking downtown. It's just the perception of where parking is, and being aware that you can park on the street, on 2nd Street, or that there's other parking lots. And that you might have to walk further. I think that there's communication, we could implement some communication tools to help messaging about where parking is located at, so that people are more aware of where they can park. Because that's one of the things that I have, sorry, every time my computer screen goes.
Wayfinding signs.
Wayfinding signage, yeah. But yeah, a lot of the prime parking, especially in those 2 lots that I just mentioned, are used by the employees of the businesses downtown, because there are no time limits on those lots.
And then you talked about the overnight permits are available. I'm kind of assuming that might be for the hotel.
Right now it's used by residents.
Residents. Okay.
Yeah, that live overnight, or that live on, there's a couple of different residences that might need to utilize overnight parking permits. So I believe that's the majority, if not all of the ones that we've issued thus far. But I do think that the boutique hotel that's coming into town will we'll have a conversation with them about whether they need something like that.
Thank you.
Woodward, just point of clarification, so overnight parking permit is not the permit to spend one night, right? It's for someone to park on the street for what, a month or something, or?
It's indicated on their permit application.
Okay, and so they'll say, I live here, and I want to park here from September to whatever. Okay, thank you.
This is Sherry. So 2nd Street, you're not allowed to park on it overnight? Or 2nd Street is not one that's...
2nd Street does not have time limits
Okay,
when you are east of Buxton. 2nd Street west of Buxton does now have time limits that were implemented in the time since this survey. keep going to the other.
So we looked at the duration of stay and the average time people were parked and where they were parked downtown. And the average duration of stay, like, it really varied by lot. It tends to be over 3 hours on most lots, with exceptions of Mayor's Square, the Troutdale house lot, and the old City Hall parking lot, and Glen Auto parking lot. And then also, average of stay, it varies by street as well. It tends to be less than 2 hours in the 2-hour parking stalls along the historic Columbia Highway, and less than 4 hours on Dora and Harlow. And more than 3 hours for the stalls that have no time limits, that are kind of scattered throughout the downtown area. But as Marley just indicated, the streets west of Buxton now, so Kendall Court here and Second, have all been signed now with a time limit. And when the survey was done, we didn't have a time limit on these streets.
And what are they?
It's 2 hours.
2 hours.
Was it enforced?
We'll get to that question here as we talk about parking solutions. Sure. So we looked at turnover rates. So for on-street parking, it varies by street again and by stall type. It tends to be lower than expected in the 2-hour and 4-hour parking stalls. And then the average turnover for all, well, I don't want to say all. So the average turnover for off-street facilities also varies by lot, and it tends to be less than about 2 hours per vehicle per stall, excluding the Mayor's Square parking lot. And as you can tell by our earlier maps, that's a hot place to park in downtown Troutdale, is that Mayor's Square parking lot. So this suggests that people that park off-street tend to stay longer than people that park on-street, which is preferred. People are parking in the lots when they stay longer in downtown.
And then what that does show is that people are seeing the signage and following, for the most part, the signs that say 2 hours on Historic Columbia River Highway, 4 hours on Dora and Harlow, and then recognizing that the lots don't have a time limit, despite not being signed, that they don't have a time limit. If you know, you know. That's the key challenges that we identified in this plan are the growing parking demand, unbalanced parking demand, spillover, special events, that duration of stay and turnover, the loading and unloading as was brought up, safety, user and visitor information, limited transportation options, and a lack of shuttles to services and amenities that people like, and then the transportation planning rule, which is a state policy. So as we mentioned, there were a number of different policies and strategies, and I've broken them down into different categories and the terms to help summarize them all for you. These are in much more detail in the final plan, so this is the Cliff Notes version. But the first category is administration, and that ensures proper implementation, management, and monitoring of the city's parking program, and establishing that framework for day-to-day operations, stakeholder and community engagement, alignment with broader economic development and livability goals, and then providing adaptability as conditions change, and a sustainable, accountable foundation for the overall parking system. And the strategies that are in this category are all near term, meaning that we're hoping to implement them between now and the next 5 years. And that includes a parking manager, a parking regulation advisory committee, which may be TCAB potentially, a parking management district, and then the outreach communications plan. And the parking management district could do a number of different things, but it could allow us to really create that boundary when we look at signage or enforcement, or the overnight stay permits, things like that. The Next strategy,
Annie had a question.
oh, sorry,
What
yep.
is a parking manager?
It's a parking manager. It is a
A
person.
little guy with a hat
Yeah.
goes around and checks the spots.
Yeah.
Excellent question, because I thought maybe it was an app.
Well, I mean,
Person.
there's a lot of different tools out there nowadays, so it could involve some tools like an app. But it's really, I think in the early stages of it, so the parking manager one actually does carry on beyond near term. In the near term, it's more around, helping move this plan forward, coming up with coming up with, like a timeline for how we implement certain strategies, coming up with education tools. It's the person who sort of helps every other strategy that's about to be listed happen. It's like a project manager. You might also do it for. The next category is user and visitor information. What? Yeah, this is my favorite category. This improves how residents and visitors receive information about parking, and it uses clear signage, maps, and communication tools to show where parking is located and how it can be used. It explains the rules, the time limits, and the fees, and reduces confusion and I think that's supposed to say around perceived shortages. Promotes awareness of alternative modes such as walking, biking, and transit, and then enhances the overall visitor experience through consistent messaging and branding. And those near-term strategies include a signage plan with signing and pavement markings, wayfinding signage plans, those are different but similar. And then parking maps, how to park resources, and that parking ambassador program. And one thing to also note on this is the wayfinding signage plan did come up as one of the most urgently needed in the community engagement process. So the community also really sees that as one of the most important things is the way we communicate about our parking and where it's located and how long you can stay there and things like that.
Sorry. Parking ambassador, is that a process or a person again?
It is again a person.
A person.
I think it's the same person in these timelines.
Yeah, I would say it's the same person.
Yeah.
Okay. And what
More
would they-
details on those ones in there, but.
What would a parking ambassador do?
Well, and so in the parking ambassador, they kind of word it similar. A number of cities are implementing parks ambassadors. And so it's sort of similar to that concept where it could be volunteers, it could be paid staff, it could be just community members who like to be involved, but they're helping the city to implement the programs and communicate with people. So it's really around helping communicate to the public and sort of helping with that messaging.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, they could be like located downtown and if they're seeing people, circle downtown and not being able to find parking, they can direct people to where there's open spaces to park.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I can really see the parking ambassador sort of program helping with is during our special events in particular. We have a lot of people that drive around during the events and they're asking the flaggers, where should I park? And the flaggers they don't know Troutdale, we hire them out, so they don't really know where people should park. They don't always have the right things to say. So parking ambassadors could be helping direct people during special events to parking locations and trying to convince people to take a shuttle.
That sounds like an Explorer Post solution, doesn't it?
And once again, that position could, be volunteers helping with First Friday or at special events and whatnot, community volunteers.
I was gonna say, I don't know any cities that have that, except for special events.
Yeah, we would definitely, I think I could see it being implemented in a special event capacity first before it would ever be implemented in something else. But it's again helping that communication tool. If we have a bunch of people who are visiting who have never been to the town, they can help be that person who communicates where you can go, how to take the shuttle, that it's free, all these sorts of things.
Would it be a paid position or totally volunteer?
don't know that we know the details of all of that yet.
You know,
It doesn't specify.
I got an idea that piggybacks off of your stuff here. Really good work. When I'm thinking in a program like this ambassador thing, if we could get some of the employers to get their, bring in some of their employees and like say, hey, listen, we want you to know how to direct people on where to park, but also where to go. So not just asking about soda, but here's Chinese food and here's other food. So we put on the program, and this is one piece of that for our local business employees, so that they learn how to answer these types of questions. We're in for Lolo's and we're having a pie, but we want to, go somewhere else for dessert. Where do you think we should go? Oh, if you're going to go to Lolo's, you should go to this.
Yeah.
And granted, it's one of those things where once the business owners see that retaining somebody downtown, so they don't come in, hit Lolo's and leave. Want them to come in, hit Lolo's and go down the street and hit the other people at the other stores and spend and keep the spend local. Maybe this is one component of that program, perhaps, I don't know, just throwing it out there.
Downtown hospitality training.
Yeah, we're honestly, yes.
Absolutely, which includes everybody in the committees and boards that we have.
Yeah, I think that is a great suggestion and a great way to sort of take this ambassador program and sort of expand upon it, because that is one of our major challenges. It's difficult to communicate with the staff of businesses. Like, I could send an email to the business owners or the property owners, but that doesn't necessarily reach everyone who works within the staff. And you brought up the hair salons earlier. If not everyone who works at the hair salon knows these are the best parking locations if you're gonna be staying for 4+ hours, then they're not able to communicate it with their customers. And it's a challenge for the special events too. If they don't know that there's a free shuttle that their customers can take, then they're not able to communicate about it. And so what I like about your idea is also using volunteers and coming up with a system that it's not just one person who has the information. That person can go train other people, and then they can help communicate it to the rest of their coworkers, and they can carry on that way.
And we used to do this under the guise of safety too. So we'd have like a pre-meeting before an event or whatever. And it was like, hey, Lolo's, bring your staff to the safety meeting, right? We talk about safety and the routes and, the cars will be going this way instead of this way. And then there's also a little page we talk about, here's other things you can do. Go visit the train station, go visit the Harlow House, and just kind of keep pumping that at these little safety meetings and,
Right.
Anyway, I'd be more than willing to share what I know. It used to be underneath the JCs, the Junior Chamber of Commerce, right? So the JCs was the fun group of people, and they were in charge of doing this type of ambassador type work. Anyway.
Yeah, and if we come up with the how to park guides, that's another thing. It's like we can go speak to the businesses, tell them about the parking, but then also give them a resource that they can revisit later or they can share with their customers too, so that everyone is aware.
Awesome. Sorry to interrupt.
It's perfect. Oh, that's okay. I was like, you went in and.
Maybe it'll serve, if you think of it.
Oh, I know what I
let
was
us
gonna
know.
say, like with the hair salon, they have not all hairstylists come at the same time. So they have different clients, so that each one gets trained, so the next person comes in, he knows, or she knows, okay, this is what this person wants. She wants to know where the best restaurant is, or if it's Italian, and they could say, oh yeah, just down the street there's Pompeo's or.
Yeah, and I think I actually have had some really good conversations with some of the hair salon owners and stylists downtown about all of this. And one of the things that I've also realized is that a hair salon is the one place where you're sitting down and having a conversation with the person who works here for 2 to 4+ hours. And so their customers are actually the most likely to feel comfortable complaining to them about these things than any other group, because they're sitting there chatting about so many different things. And so hairstylists hear all sorts of different things about their customers' lives and whatnot. And so they end up getting a lot of the complaints. They carry the burden of having to hear these complaints that a restaurant server doesn't necessarily have to listen to. They just they get to take on a bit of that emotional support system. So that's something to sort of recognize, is that they hear a lot of these complaints, and that's why sometimes they have the strongest feelings about these policies. It's because they're the ones who have to listen to their customers talk about it for a really long period of time, whereas other businesses aren't in that same setting. And so I think that we get a lot of really valuable feedback from what they hear from their customers. They're also, put in that position where they are a captive audience for an extended period of time. So, yeah. The next category is transportation demand management. And this is around encouraging active and shared modes of travel to reduce that parking demand, and supporting employees and residents in choosing alternatives to driving alone, integrating the bicycle and pedestrian and transit improvements with the parking policy, promoting sustainability, and supporting the health and mobility goals. And this, because so much of this is around improving certain, like making some physical improvements when it comes to bike infrastructure, transit infrastructure, sidewalk infrastructure, pedestrian infrastructure. There's things in near term, midterm, and long term. And we're looking at, the bike and ped facilities, that Sandy River shuttle that we have the pilot to do next year, and then hopefully expanding that to the future, commuter benefits, transit facilities. The TriMet service changed recently, so we don't have the line that comes through downtown anymore, meaning, we still have the line that comes down 257th, but we don't have the one that comes down Buxton anymore, meaning that we lost some of those direct stops right in the downtown. So trying to advocate for improved transit facilities, and there's different varying levels for different areas of that. The next category is parking management. So this focuses on making the existing parking supply work more efficiently before having to build more. And it's applying those tools such as time limits, permits, shared parking, pay to park programs, loading and unloading zones. It helps balance the supply and demand, reduce the congestion, and maintain accessibility while adapting to the changing use patterns as downtown grows. So when we talked about the time limits, we don't have time limits on any of the off-street parking lots, but based upon the demand of some of those parking lots, we might need to consider implementing time limits there when creating some employee lots where we're designated where we would like employees to be versus, and it doesn't need to be technically employee lots, they can just be untimed lots. Those untimed lots then get used by employees because they don't have the strict time limits on them. So near term, we're looking at those time limit restrictions for on-street facilities, an area parking permit program, which that's in this category is just related to those overnight parking permits. The pay to park program at Glen Otto Community Park, the loading zone conversation, and then reviewing those ADA stalls, as I mentioned earlier. There's a couple of them that are in the north parking lot that are directly across from the stairwells, but the stairwells are not ADA accessible, so they're not the most convenient of locations. To the city's defense, I think when they installed those, they thought there'd be a lot more commercial activity happening on the lower level. And what we've seen over the years is that the majority of those spaces are used as office spaces and not as like public-facing retail stores. So I understand the sentiment when they place them, but we might be better served placing them closer to the edges where we have those ramps that they can utilize instead. So reevaluating the locations of those. And midterm, we're looking at some shared parking at the CCB and Troutdale Police Facility. And then long-term, we have those expanded pay-to-park programs. So I know that paid parking is a hot topic for quite a few people. But, you know, this doesn't say in 10 to 20 years you have to create a pay-to-park program in downtown, but it does say that you should consider it. One of the things that we had a lot of conversation around was the demand for parking needs to be at a certain point for you to feel good about implementing paid parking. Glen Auto parking lot hit that demand point where we can justify needing a program like that. But enforcement is really key to that too. And when it comes to enforcing, there's certain like blatant violations that of course you always want to be able to enforce. But it's hard to enforce parking when you don't have paid parking, because that requires people to constantly be moving their cars, or, you know, like, it's just, enforcement is very expensive. So if you don't have a pay-to-park program, it's really expensive and you can't really afford to enforce your parking. So those two things could be intrinsically linked in the future. The next category is parking enforcement, as I just mentioned. It ensures that all other parking strategies are effective, and enforcement should be frequent. That should say fair, not fire, and friendly, focused on
You're giving them.
focused on education and not punishment, and it should encourage compliance and turnover while maintaining a positive visitor experience, and provide consistency and credibility across the parking system. So in the near term, the suggestion is to remain complaint driven. So right now we are complaint driven when it comes to enforcement. To answer your question, if we receive complaints to code compliance about parking violations, that is what triggers an enforcement response. So this isn't suggesting changes to that right now, but then in maybe the midterm or long term, that's when we start looking at changes to enforcement. When I was driving over here this evening, I noticed that a parking violation that made me think, man, I wish we had enforcement, because they're parked too close to the intersection, so you can't see when you can't make that turn. And so I think that when we consider enforcement, it will start with those safety measures first, and then build upon it with the other elements. So, you know, safety is really taking the forefront there of, those are the violations that we really don't want to see happening, and then the time limits will build upon it.
Can I just ask, only because I just want to make sure I understand, meaning that somebody is parked into a yellow area, or the area is painted yellow indicating not parking there and they're in it?
Great question. So parking 101, if we go back to being 16, and we're reading the Oregon road rules book, and we're taking our driving test, we are legally not supposed to park within 10 feet of an intersection. Yeah, that's state law.
So what you'll find is that our curbs are not painted downtown. We have the bump outs that help improve the crosswalks at the intersections, also serve as that separator between the intersection and where you can park. So that's one of the things that is really nice about them, is people can't violate it. You'd be parking on top of the curb if you were to violate that. So it forces them to meet that standard. Not every intersection in downtown has that though, and the second in Buxton is one of those corners that doesn't have that bump out and is frequently violated. So I do know that it is in Multnomah County's plans to add that bump out in the very near future. I just don't know when exactly.
Next summer.
Next summer is when it's gonna happen.
Would not paint be cheaper?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yes, so
More expensive in the long run.
Honestly, I think that yellow paint, I mean, I see it and I go, whoa, my front of my car is barely hanging in it. I gotta get back in and back it up, so I'm not
Yes.
into it.
So
So to me, that's what it tells
painting
me.
curbs is one of the suggestions that's in here. Our Public Works Department doesn't have a policy that implements that because of maintenance costs and because of like just the overall cost of doing something like that across the city. They don't have a policy that says we will paint curbs. This is where the transportation, what did we call it? This is where the parking management district could come into our favor. If we create this parking management district, we could create specific standards that only apply within this district. So the conversations that we've had with Public Works is they don't want to do that on one curb because then everyone in the city is gonna be calling them and saying, you need to come paint our curbs. Because we want that in our intersection. And so if we have this parking management district, we can limit that to the district where this is the worst issues. And then we could implement it in that specific area. So, because the other thing is the fire hydrants. People,
Just about
the fire hydrant in front of Wayfinder, people park in front of it every single day.
Okay, read the manual?
But people forget that they're not supposed to park 10 feet.
You would be surprised how many people don't know that you're supposed to not park in front of a fire hydrant.
Well, then also, I would just say, because when somebody says 10 feet back, am I carrying something that's gonna measure out 10 feet, or I see where the paint
Right.
line is or something?
And that's where the bump outs are really nice, or the curb paint is really nice because it does help indicate where that line is.
But aren't we having issues on Second and Buxton? I thought we were with
Yes.
accidents and near misses with pedestrians being hit, that type of thing.
Yes.
So wouldn't it kind of warrant, I guess we could pass the hat to get some street paint,
So.
you know, to put on the curb?
So,
I mean, if Public Works can't do it, can,
the fire hydrant on Buxton in front of Wayfinder, the county is, right now, they're exploring the idea of putting some paint down. So I expect that'll probably happen within the next couple of months. They're putting together a plan. And then the bump outs in that location on the west side here of Buxton and Second, those bump outs are gonna be replaced next summer. So, and that will really help too. I would love to have those bump outs replaced sooner, except the funding pot for that money is gonna be doled out late next spring, early summer for that to happen through the county.
Through the county, yes. And we were able to advocate about the painting for the fire hydrant because we have another precedent downtown. There's a fire hydrant in front of the burrito shop location that already has the street painted with the yellow striping to indicate that location. So we brought that to the county and said, we have a precedent on another one of your roads, can we please have paint? So.
Mr. Hill?
I think that parking management district makes a lot of sense, because then you can encapsulate the area and say, this is where we're paying attention, so I think that makes sense. I don't think it would be a far stretch once that's established to ask for volunteers to paint it, you know, and I think that would be easily accomplished if the city's not able to, and that'd be fine. I think some people would enjoy that. I would like some education and understanding on the bump outs, because when you see them built, I see that there's absolutely, it won't allow cars to park in, you know, block the intersection, right? That makes sense, but I still struggle to understand how it protects pedestrians when it seems to put them further out into traffic, like they're getting closer and closer to the traffic lane because there's a bump out there. What's the study on that?
So what it's doing is it's making the pedestrian visible to the vehicle.
Sounds dangerous.
Well, as long as people stay on the road, both the pedestrian and the vehicle, as long as they both stay in the road, or in the pedestrians, not in the road,
Sidewalk.
they're on the sidewalk. They're not on the road yet. They are safer because they can see them. When you don't have those bump outs, people are standing back at the sidewalk, which is behind any parked vehicles. So they're not visible because there's a parked vehicle right here. The person standing right here isn't visible to the person driving the car. Or, you know, they're sneaking around the car and then you can't really see them.
I understand visibility, I just don't understand the logic of putting a person 2 or 3 feet closer to a moving vehicle. But I'm sure they're doing this all across the country, so there must be studies that show this is actually safer. It just seems counterintuitive to me.
From the standpoint of riding a bicycle on a road like
Yeah.
that, it's actually more dangerous, I think. So coming off of Post Office Road and swinging down and then turning in, I think it's 8th or something, there's a bump out right at 8th. And it's hard because you're close to the edge and then you have to swing out and you could have a car coming right up on you. And to me, it sets me in a more dangerous
And that's on
situation.
Buxton you're referring to?
Yes.
Yeah, so Buxton doesn't have dedicated bike lanes. So that's another issue with that road, is that the road isn't wide enough to, that's a share the road. So there's not a dedicated bike lane, meaning that the cyclist is gonna be in the road. The bump outs, that area is not the bike lane, it's the parking area. So,
But once you go out to get out of the way of the bump out to make the corner, you're in the traffic lane.
right,
And the car coming doesn't realize you're gonna come out necessarily. And then, there it is and you're coming out.
Right,
And so to
yeah.
me, it's just, it makes me feel like it's more dangerous, so.
yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying. I feel like Frank has something to comment on that.
There's classes on this. I mean, we could spend a whole semester on just this question itself, so.
Yeah,
So as far as, I can add a little bit. This is Frank. So as far as the bump outs go, think in terms of pedestrian. And yes, it brings them closer to traffic, but it also slows the traffic down. It also decreases the amount of time that a pedestrian is going to be in that danger area because the distance between the two is now shorter. It also creates the obstacle for the car that automatically, psychologically, we're slowing down. You've noticed it on Buxton. I mean, they're ugly as sin. And they get in the way of bikers because now I have to take the lane. If I bike down Buxton, which I don't, I would have to take the lane, which means I have to take a car.
right. That was the other thing, that was what I was gonna say as well.
But you're not a car.
Bike down Buxton, because 57th is not a biking area.
Yeah, so
What they say.
So which road do you take, not Buxton?
Sandy Ave.
Yeah, which, that came up in the past when the transportation system plan was updated, and this was not included in our transportation system plan. What was proposed was to make Sandy Avenue a bikeway, but that was not included in the plan. So it is not currently designated that way, but I do think that that is a good, when I've had conversations with cyclists in the past, they've said that Sandy Avenue is the best bikeway to get down that hill. But as Frank said, the safest way for a cyclist to go down Buxton, or up Buxton if you really want to, is to take the lane,
You
to
have to
ride in the
take
middle of the traffic
You
lane.
have to take the lane.
Well, yes, and that's where I'm going, to Sandy Avenue, when I'm first impeded by the first bump out, that's why.
So there's that one area that you're talking,
It's like 8th or something.
Yeah.
This is contradictory to 70 years of design that says big, open, wide roads make for safer roads. We're finding that's not the case. Bigger, wider roads make for faster cars, and faster cars make for more speeds, and more speeds equal crashes for everybody. Drivers, pedestrians, everybody. Yeah, situation awareness.
Everybody slow down.
Yeah, trust me, if I could, I might sign up to be one of these parking ambassadors if that means that I can stand out in historic Columbia River Highway and tell people to slow down, because they go flying down that street sometimes. It is, and the illegal U-turns are about to make me lose my mind.
Hand up.
Oh. Mike has his hand up. Mike, would you like to talk?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, fine. I just wanted to second what Frank was saying about the time that you're in the danger zone with the bulb outs. It also kind of insulates parking. I don't know how many of you have had the wonderful experience of having your mirror knocked out by a vehicle driving by and knocking the mirror off of your vehicle as it's parked on the street, but the bulb outs are designed to kind of add a little bit of insulation from the roads and those parking. Typically, I will say this, ideally what you want are the bulb outs and bike lanes. So then you have the bike lanes like in between the bulb outs and the driving lane. So you would have like the bulb outs with parking and then a bike lane and then your travel lanes. That's like your perfect ideal scenario. But, you know, I think Buxton is maybe limited more by the right of way width there. And so I don't think that's potentially feasible without additional right of way acquisition along that pathway. So just want to throw that out there, but.
Thank you.
I mean, that's a way, that's a visual clue. You can bring that up to the county next time you talk to them. I'll ask that.
I think another, to what you were just saying though, about that one piece until you get to Sandy, that could be, I don't know the width of the right of way there, but potentially that's one of the lesser constrained sections of Buxton. So maybe there could be a bike lane on that one. I mean, it would be kind of awkward to really do it in that one little section, but at the same time, if the right of way is wide enough, that might make sense to lead someone to the Sandy Avenue. And so that might be a place where we don't have the bike lane the whole street, but we do it there to connect with the designated bikeway in the future. Okay, last strategy, create new parking supply. This is considered only after all other management tools are in place. It addresses long-term needs when demand consistently exceeds 85% capacity. And it may include reconfiguring existing lots, adding remote or shared lots, installing EV charging stations is actually a secondary part. Constructing new facilities as a last resort, and it recognizes the high cost and land use impacts of new parking construction. So the near term is a remote parking, specifically in the urban renewal area. This is for the Sandy River shuttle specifically for near term. But long term, there could be a parking structure or additional parking in the urban renewal area that people could walk along the trail to be able to go downtown, but being parking off-site. And then reconfiguring existing lots. So the Glen Auto Community Park is a parking lot that we're currently evaluating to determine if there's any reconfiguration we should be doing to it. We have Kilson coming up with some ideas for us around that to facilitate how that park is used, and also trying to keep it as much parking, if not add parking. In the midterm, we're looking at increasing on-street parking supply in areas where that's possible. And then long-term is adding EV charging stations to Glen Auto Community Park, constructing a new parking facility at the Confluence, and creating motorcycle or compact vehicle parking.
So midterm increase on, this is Jim, on-street parking supply, does that include things like listed above, like reconfiguring? Well, that's lots, that's on. How do you increase on-street parking supply?
Good question. There are a couple of limited areas. We kind of actually already checked one of these boxes, actually. There are certain areas where we have signed no parking, but could have on-street parking. So the TriMet bus used to come through downtown. It doesn't come through downtown anymore. So I asked Multnomah County to remove the no parking sign that was in front of the Troutdale house across from Old City Hall. And they came out and removed that sign. So you can now park on street right there. I've been doing it to try to tell people that you can do it, so follow the leader. But another area is at Glen Auto Park. There's no on-street parking right there, but the right-of-way is wide enough that if we did public improvements to that street, we could actually add on-street parking.
Okay.
We just haven't done those public improvements. The sidewalk doesn't even carry when you get back there. I'm sorry, I'm really gonna not do that. So there are a couple of areas where we don't have on-street parking, but we could have on-street parking if we put in the public improvements to add them, so.
The Glen Auto Park, well, determining future plans and strategies for it. I'm still an advocate for people that are going to the Sam Cox building. I heard that the only time they get parking reserved if they have an event was people who booked during a previous date and time. And I had mentioned, I don't know to which group, probably my CAC, was that I knew Sam Cox and Glen Otto well. We bought Glen Otto's house, and Sam Cox always came to our home. And there's a long history of, it's called Glen Otto Community Park. And I'm still not thinking it's optimal. We worked hard on CAC to keep the costs as reasonable as possible for Glen Otto Community Park so that weddings could happen and other special events, and it not be something like a $3,000, $5,000 thing to do. But with those weddings and the special events that they do have, there is now, if it's a new event that's booked, there is no reserved parking. A lot of times at that parking lot, if Sugar Pine is not open, now they are only closed one day, there can only be 12 cars parked there. When Sugar Pine is operational, it is full. Sometimes so full that if you're on the bridge, there's people stalling it to get into Glen Otto to then go through the long drive-through that goes through the entire park. I'm not really understanding why, well, I just feel that it's a priority to have some reserved parking spots for large events. Not that, I've heard somebody say, well, they could just go at a council meeting, they can just go and get a shuttle from somewhere. It's like, it's a wedding, it's a funeral, it's a special 50th anniversary. And a huge number of the events that are at the community center are used by the citizens of Troutdale for their special events. And so to me, that's a huge concern. And that's something I think that should be looked at. And also if they're thinking about how to configure the parking lot and make it easy to, if they do choose to reserve a section. The Troutdale Historical Society had a flag event. They had one of their big meetings, which yearly they have 1 or 2 meetings, and there was no parking reserved. A lot of people are elderly, and same with the other events that happen there. I think it's unreasonable for them to be told you have to find, if you're going to book a wedding, go find parking somewhere else. Because Sugar Pine, and I'm glad they're successful. They have a great marketing plan. They're highlighting Troutdale, they're highlighting the gorge, they're doing so many wonderful things. So it's no disrespect to Sugar Pine whatsoever. But we were first a Glen Otto Community Park with visionaries planning on how to use that space. And so I really feel that should be that should be looked at again, because I think it was, I'm not sure how it was handled or what input or data was gotten by the citizenry to make that decision that did occur.
Not to beat a dead horse, but the district Highway Derby for the Scouts from here all the way down to Boring, parts of Sandy, was at Glen Otto. And once they found that we were charging, they've made plans to move it to an elementary school in Gresham. And it would be a really sad thing to let that go on. They didn't make phone calls. They didn't ask for any special dispensations. They just reacted to what was in the newspapers and what people had told them. So we're still time to wrangle them back. But it was a little frustrating when there was a knee-jerk reaction on the district's part to move that. But we definitely want to bring them back. And they bring in troops from 3 or 4 cities around us, which would cause them to have to pay to park. And the way the heats are done for the Pinewood Derbies, these families could be here for several hours. This is not something that they're built into the budget at all. So I know it's not as fancy and glamorous as a wedding.
Well, I know I'm talking every event. There's Native Indians that have a special event there each year. There's so many different groups of people. There's the people that struggle with, I'm not saying the word right, Alcohol Anonymous. They have their yearly event there to get together. There's so many wonderful.
The Steelhead group, which is really close to the other group.
Yeah, there's so many different groups that go there each year.
And the paid parking, to clarify for anyone who isn't aware, the paid parking is Friday through Sunday. So it was originally supposed to be every single day, and they took the community feedback and modified that to be Friday to Sunday. From all day, or is it just 7 p.m.? I can't remember if it's all day or to 7 p.m.
I think it's to a certain time.
And then Sugar Pine is the concessionaire that's in the building there at the corner, and they are open until 5 p.m. But the parking lot has a lot of challenges.
I'm talking specifically probably about weekend days, even if it was reserved, but to make it easily reserved, I'm not even saying that they shouldn't pay, but there's no blocked out spaces like we have done ever since the beginning of Glen Auto Community Park at the Sam Cox Building for events. It's not being accommodated anymore. So that's what I'm saying, if it's gonna be reconfigured, if that discussion, it may open up, it's like, how can we easily block off an area, even if there's an event and you still require them to pay, but at least the wedding party and everybody can, depending on if it's large or not, certain numbers, you could say if it's a wedding of 100 or more, maybe 50 spaces. I'm not sure, the people would know, like Karen and others would know what type of spaces are used, but there also can be that consideration and when they're thinking about reconfiguring Glen Auto Community Park parking space and its uses.
If the bride has to take a shuttle, that's gonna be tough.
I am
Carriage worse.
This isn't Troutdale related, but I was at Smith Rock State Park, actually, who, there's plenty of weddings that happen there too, and they also don't let you reserve any parking for your event. And I had never been there when there was a wedding happening, and everyone from that wedding was like scrambling all over trying to find parking. I ended up giving someone my parking ticket so that they didn't have to pay for it. Sorry, State Parks. But yeah, that was an interesting thing to witness, all of the wedding party just all over the place trying to figure out where to get parking, because that's a very, very popular destination. But it does bring up the conversation with Glen Auto about how the park is used and what's the priority of usage of the park and the parking lot that's associated with it. But we're working with Kittleson to come up with a couple of different scenarios of how the parking lot could be reconfigured and what those costs might look like, and taking into consideration the uses that are there and how we accommodate them. Moving forward, in the short term, many strategies will be funded through the city's general fund, but there are also a few different funding mechanisms that could be discussed and deployed in the long term, such as that pay to park or area parking permits, a local improvement district or an economic improvement district. And then there's also a lot of continued monitoring, measuring, and evaluating. Always.
Hi, this is Woodrow. I have another question. When we did the parking survey, was there any, and again, this is maybe a want to have, not a need to have, but do we have any information about where these travelers or parkers came before they came to Troutdale and where they went? Was there interstitial steps here in the city before they went somewhere else, and where did they go after that? Is there any way to get that information? Because I think that would help us understand a trip analysis or needs analysis of where they came from You know, were they at the outlet malls? Were they at the truck stop?
Yes, so I can't, I mean, we pay for data that tells us that information through Placer, so I can look at
There's the cell phone thing, right?
Yes, so I can look at visitation data for downtown and it can tell us where people were before, where they're going afterwards. It's not always the most useful data. I mean, sometimes it's kind of dependent on how the rest of the system is. Like, for example, at First Friday, it kept saying for this one First Friday that all these people were going to this tattoo parlor afterwards. It was in a shopping center. It was like a piercing and tattoo place. And I was like, surely
You just kind of lump
not.
them together, right?
You know, it's because it's an algorithm. Apparently enough people went
Went to
and
the
got
tattoo.
tattoos afterwards, that it was like, oh, well, let's triple that number and call it a top number. But if it's in a shopping center like that, like a strip mall, it's sometimes hard to get really specific. So what I like doing when I look at that data is actually going by category. So knowing how many people came from their home and went back to their home, or came from their work and went back to their work, you know, those sort of things. You can go by category, like leisure, or outdoor recreation, so we can look at it that way. It doesn't tell me like, okay, they parked their car and did this, but it says this person visited downtown and came from this other place. A lot of it is like typically outlets, Fred Meyer, you know, groceries, work, home, those sort of places. But yeah, we can look at more of that data to.
And then, because I'm curious, if someone came in, you know, and hit the gift shop, and instead of walking, you know, they got in their car and parked over there by Taste of Village, you know what I mean?
That is harder to tell.
Is it? Okay. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's, okay.
Well, we can't tell if they drive or if they walk, or if they biked.
Ooh, that's
We
right.
can't really, like in the data that I have, I can't differentiate the way in which they're going.
Okay.
But what we can do is, there is a feature on this data that tells you the roads that people are using to get to your downtown. And so, for example, I looked at Glen Auto Park really recently, for that visitation and how it's changed since Sugar Pine has opened. And previously, not almost everyone, but a large majority of people came through downtown to get to Glen Auto Park. The increase in the amount of people taking exit 18 and crossing the Sandy River Bridge is astronomical. There are so many more people that are, I would say that the whole difference between who used to go to the park and who now goes to the park is all taking exit 18. And so that's really important for our conversations with ODOT and Multnomah County, and talking about this bridge is seeing thousands more cars using it. That also means that the majority of people who are now accessing this park are making a left-hand turn movement into the parking lot, which is really difficult to do on a bright sunny day in the summer when that road is packed. And so it's backing up traffic along the bridge, along the highway. And so for us, what that means is, do we need to implement a three-way stop so that people can actually make a left-hand turn, like have time to make that left-hand turn movement, or be able to make a left-hand turn out of the parking lot? Or, you know, how does that result in other things to consider? So that, yeah.
You want a stop sign in your driveway?
Well, you know, things change, but I will have to say though, Sugar Pines drive-through is very long and encompasses the entire park, which was also a source of trying to solve a problem when you did reserve areas. That's why I'm saying to figure that out now, if you're possibly gonna allow people to have reserved areas, even if they're paying within that reserved area, that Sugar Pine can still have a different
Queuing
way
area.
to
Yeah,
configure
the
it.
drive-through queue is a source of problem for that parking lot.
My question, and this might this might be a solution. I've seen it where they have a long queue and there's somebody with an iPad going from thing to thing to thing, and that gets them through quicker because they've already know what they're gonna get, and so they don't spend a lot of time waiting.
Yeah.
Shorten up that.
I think they have
I
that.
think they do that.
There's somebody
Well, they
there.
need to do it faster because.
Okay.
I've seen them go through There's no parking lot. It was a dust road, and they were just, those people were just going right.
Yeah.
I mean, they were lined up down the street, but they got through.
Well, and so one of the other things is the location of the entrance to the
Right.
park in the best spot? Or should it be further from the bridge so that less traffic is backing up on
Maybe
the
you wanna
bridge?
put a stop sign in my driveway.
Yeah, there we go.
We don't want that.
There's an intersection that we could, create right there.
Yeah, and we can paint it yellow, so they don't
Make
park
it, then
there.
it's a
Love yellow.
four-way stop so that the RVs can make their wide turns. So this is what like the data is really useful for, is now we know that so many of these people are taking exit 18 and are making these left-hand turn movements. And so that's adding to the problem, that's adding to the difficulty of using the parking lot. Because a left-hand turn is already hard to do, and then you add all the cars on top of it, and then it's queuing in the driveway, and you can't find a parking spot, and so it leaves visitors with a bad taste in their mouth, and so.
It's really good
use
food,
data
it's
to our
a good
advantage.
taste in there.
I know, I walk,
So tough.
I park at the visitor center every time and just walk down there, so that's my way of getting there, but.
I think we beat that one.
A couple of comments. Right, on 16, under near-term strategies, I would think we would want to add transit there for 1 to 5 years, because we've just taken a massive hit with them canceling our second bus line.
Midterm?
Near term.
Near term, okay.
And I think it's going to be really hard with one part-time bus route to be able to accomplish what we want to.
Add it to all the terms.
Any of them.
Yes, yeah. No, I think that's a great suggestion. I think that, when that conversation came up, it was like, well, they just took it away. They're probably not gonna give it back to us right away. But to that point, it's something we need to be advocating for at all times. So it can't just be 5 years from now that we advocate for it.
It'd be kind of great if TriMet knew we were here. If we sent them a map or something. I don't know. You know, you look at Amazon and they pay like $3 million a year to TriMet, and it took almost 2 years to get a bus stop down there.
Well, yeah, and then they do a specialty one in the middle of the night, because most of the people that work late at night.
Not now.
And, yeah, I mean, that's ridiculous.
That's gone.
Yeah.
I know, and
Is it-
that's sad, because those people,
They switched it from 15 minutes to an hour.
you're a kid.
No.
I wish I
Oh, but
was.
there's supposed to be 15-minute, oh, never mind. Get on my soapbox on that one.
Was there a loss of demand? Is that why they changed it, or just
No.
financial?
Financial.
When is this scheduled to open over here?
The end of December, so December, early January.
I noticed they're putting the stairs in today. They're getting ready to pour the stairs. That ought to be fun.
And the other thing I was gonna say is I appreciate the enforcement piece, but I think there's a piece that we could do in front of that would be relatively easy, is try to get the businesses to self-enforce parking. I see people downtown parked in a spot all day long. It's labeled 2 hours, and maybe they just need a watch, somebody to buy them a watch or a pair of glasses or something, so they kind of know what they're dealing with. But I see a lot of that, and then I also think that, you know, if somebody parks closer than their customers do, I don't even think they should be in business.
A little short-sighted, or is that what it is?
Well, they should put a clock on the side of the business saying,
so I
your
mean-
2 hours have just started.
I think if we somehow got this self-policing down there a little bit, it would help immensely.
Ambassador program.
Yeah.
What's that?
The ambassador program, sounds like another thing to lump in there.
Didn't the city manager?
What?
City manager, did he? This is Frank, but
Yeah, the city manager is actually authorized to write
I
tickets.
seem to remember our
What's his name?
previous city-
Mike?
Yeah, he's on this.
Is it still on?
He's on, he's here.
He's on the Zoom call.
Yes, it's him and Joe, and then the sheriff's officers that are authorized to write tickets.
Correct.
Who's Joe?
Joe Storage, our code compliance officer.
Code conform.
Oh, wow, cool.
He's playing defense, though. He has to have a complaint first, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
but Mike doesn't.
Hi, Mike.
The cities, I mean, I think it goes back to like, I don't think it's a law or an ordinance that we have around enforcement. It's just a
Guidelines.
decision that has been made at council that is we enforce based on.
We try to educate first, right? And then after we do our education, if there's another issue, then we go to the more ticket-driven.
Mike had his hand up. Mr. Weston?
No, I'm good. I was just waving as someone was talking, and I was like, yeah, that's me.
We're just giving you something else to do.
Right, I know. Now I'm going to be out on ticket duty.
No, it's a new name. It's called Parking Ambassador.
Yeah. All right. Is that it?
I had one more question. Where is, we have a lot of private parking available in the downtown area. There's at least 30 slots right across from where the Elk used to be on the gallery right there. Are we making any progress with trying to mitigate the potential to utilize those spots for downtown?
Somebody give me the back up a little bit. What is the Elk building and the?
Elk doesn't exist anymore, so.
I know, they're all gone. So it's across from
Formerly
Yale
known as
Pub.
the Elk building.
So it's across from Yale Pub, formerly, used to be an art gallery.
Sits down.
Yeah,
You almost don't even see it because.
You don't even
it's
see
like-
it, but you take a left and there are 26 parking spots that are not utilized,
oh,
literally right next to.
So is this an abandoned property or what is this?
What are we putting it? It is,
And the rose.
it's a privately owned property. The property owner does not lease or utilize, but maintains so that it doesn't violate any code standards. So they're maintaining it, but they're not using it. And it has its own private parking lot. She's never responded to any of our
It's
inquiries.
its own parcel.
So what was it?
there's
A potato storage.
Yeah, in the 1920s or.
Oh, okay.
Historically.
Historically, but then somebody made it a gallery. So then they never used it as a gallery?
what's
It
used,
was a gallery. It was a gallery. And then when did they stop being occupied?
What, 2000 and?
I don't know the date that it moved out, but there was a lawsuit with the owner and the tenant.
Oh, okay, so there was some friction there. And then she just picked her toys and walked away.
she took them home.
All right, curious.
I do know the owner has asked people to move their cars from the salon that's closest, that's on the historic highway.
So she's still
She does
keeping an
not.
eye on things, I guess.
Well, it was a rare occasion, but he does not, just to Frank, she doesn't want people parking there.
Yeah.
As far as I know.
Well, it's just an opportunity. I think that's a great new city manager. Might.
So it's not for sale, it's not being used, and it's just empty.
The elk's gone now, yeah.
Curious, what happened to the elk?
That's so sad.
The trailer came and took it down.
Oh, it was sadder.
Oh, it's
You
her.
just made the story sadder.
Yeah, they had a crane.
It wasn't ours. It's private.
I drove into work one day and I was like,
Elk's gone.
It's bronze, that's why it's
To
okay.
get some information from, I was talking to the owner of the Troutdale food carts. She has her employees park, she actually has employee parking. So that opens up the park, I mean, it's a great, the concepts you guys are talking about are actually being applied by a private owner, which is pretty cool. So they purchased that transmission shop. That's now the employee parking, and that opens up the parking for customers. But as you were saying, it's like, why would you have an employee park in a spot where your customer is gonna be? That just doesn't make sense. Yeah. And then lastly, I had in my notes was, the Sharon Nesbitt Park is a game changer for people being able to walk under the railroad track and into downtown. Is 257th Way, it's not on our downtown area, really. 257th Way, the back of the mall, that open gravel area where the URA hasn't started construction yet, those are all potential parking spots, especially in the summer during peak times. And we will see migration to the river. I have no doubt of that.
Absolutely.
Something to think about, so.
What do you mean by migration to the river?
People parking because it's free, there's no charge.
Recreation.
Recreational parking, they'll plop in there as well as other spots, because OPRD is now charging.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no direct access to the river over there, so anyone who does get down there is
They're on their own?
going off path, off trail, off-roading.
The path.
And the only area that's like even close enough to being able to access it is the area that's under the railroad, but even when you get over there to the river, it's all rocks on that side, there's no beach on that side.
There's a small beach, yeah.
It's just not as pleasant. I mean, people do it, but it's not.
I think what we're gonna find, just guessing, is you're gonna see people create the path.
Yeah, they will.
It will happen. And over the course of this summer and last summer, the floating down that rapid section to under I-84, people have set up ropes across to catch themselves as they go down and then walk back up the island, plop back in, go back down. It's a quick, fun, yeah. Usually they walk over from OPRD, but with the access to Sharon Nesbitt now, I think you'll see that'll be an impact for sure. But back to downtown. So I think that's bringing people in, potential customers economically, that could be walking into downtown now underneath the railroad track and coming up and still parking over there, which may help with parking mitigation, so. Yeah, we'll see.
Fun.
Thank you.
No, I retract that question. I'll ask you after we're done.
Thank you, staff.
Staff communication.
Speaking of the Sharon Nesbitt Heritage Park, we have a ribbon cutting ceremony that's happening on Wednesday, October 29th at 1:30. And we're also going to be planning a large community event later in next spring, 2026, when the weather's really nice, like on a Saturday afternoon to get folks down there.
Do you need anybody to do a flag ceremony for you?
For this, let me talk to you after. I haven't thought about that.
Yep, so we have that trail and park opening very, very, very soon. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we have that's going on that is relevant to this. Windy Wonderland will be the first weekend in December, mark your calendars. With the tree lighting on Sunday, most come down for that.
And you probably see Taste of Village.
Oh, yeah.
That building is getting rehabbed, and so there'll be a restaurant. And also, we talked a boutique hotel or some boutique rooms above.
Yeah, it'll be an 8-room boutique hotel and a restaurant that has both indoor seating and a large patio.
When?
Their goal is July of next year. Of next year, so July of 2026.
So 12/1 was Winter Wonderland?
No, it's the first Saturday and Sunday in December, so it's, I think, like the 6th and 7th.
That's coming up.
Are you gonna get to light the tree again this year?
Oh, the doggy Halloween.
Oh yeah, we have our Halloween event at the Columbia Park Dog Park on the 26th. which includes a very fun dog costume contest. And if you want to see cute puppies in costumes, it's a great place to see them. If you want to bring your dog for the dog costume contest, you can do that too. It is a 2-hour event, I think from 1 to 3 or 12 to 2.
12 to 2.
12 to 2. That we started that first year of having the dog park opening, so it helps us build awareness about the dog park that's back there. That's so nice, so.
Prizes too.
Yeah, Frank's providing a lot of volunteer hours to help us with this, so.
It's all about the coffee.
Caffeinated one.
Mr. Weston, did you have anything else for the group this evening?
Sorry, it wouldn't let me unmute. But no, I have nothing else, y'all. Enjoy your evening.
All right. With you, Jude.
Something completely unrelated to downtown, but I'd just like to bring it up for awareness. We were talking about pedestrians and streets and bump outs and everything. One area that I get concerned about every time I drive by it is on Troutdale Road, just north of Stark. There's the Dairy Queen, and then if you go through that intersection just north there's no sidewalk on the east side of the street, but there is a TriMet bus stop there. And every school day, there are kids from MLA, which is the charter school there in the Dairy Queen parking lot zone, who stand there 2 feet from traffic. And I just get concerned for their safety. I don't know that there's anything the city can do about it because it's, a private thing there and everything, but I do have concerns about the proximity to the street for children. Yeah, they're out there all the time. Just awareness that's all.
Troutdale Road is a county road.
I'm aware of that.
So, that'd be a great comment to me. I mean, we can express it to Multnomah County as well, but it's always great whenever you do see things to know who to report problems to.
Yeah,
or
they
make
have
these
a
comments to.
reporting app of some kind.
See,
I've
click
reported
fix.
I've used it, I don't see a lot of action.
Quick fix.
Yeah.
I will do it again, but if you all have awareness of it too, then that's good.
Yeah, no, we appreciate that, and also if there's comments for TriMet too, I think TriMet has a public comment, thing as well, and I always encourage people to make those, because when TriMet makes decisions, they look back at public comments that they've received and, in their specific forum. And so I always think about how, when we make these comments, making sure that we make them to the people that need to hear them, so that it reiterates to them over and over again
I was hoping
how
they
we
would
care about
remove
these things.
the, stop line further back when they repaved everything. That bus is not, those cars have to back up so the bus can turn. I mean, it's a tight turn. Or he takes up the left lane to turn, which is fine, but I did call.
It's good that you called.
So thank you for that. It's been, 3 months since we met? There's a lot we covered tonight. Thank you for all the work, and seems like a lot of progress, some really good thoughts gone into this. Thank you.
Mr. Stevens.
Hi, well, thanks for having me. This is my first meeting, and so I do expect to continue to ask silly, stupid questions as I get up to speed on what you guys are doing and how I can help, and I appreciate your patience with me. Thank you.
Learning.
And welcome to everybody that's new to TCAP. And thank you for the part, I've been waiting for this. This is looks like a lot of thought and plan, and it's always gonna be moving in motion. I'm really hoping that TCAP does continue to give input to the project going in I'm really hoping that, I know when we looked at what they proposed, that wasn't exactly what we wanted, but we were tasked with saying they were qualified to carry on a conversation with to see if we achieve what we want. But I know that a lot of us that were there from the beginning, we worked on Art and Motive and Intent, being on the previous Town Center Committee as well. And I'm really hoping that that those things that mattered to us, which we felt were mattered to from the very beginning, and that does come to fruition. But I am excited about NATO being involved and the different players that are being involved, and I'm really looking forward to getting something wonderful. And I'm glad you two are part of that, hopefully keeping that on track. And anytime it can come to us, just give updates so that if something doesn't go too far at the end, and then maybe it gets near approval and it's like, hey, that isn't nowhere near what we talked about. I'm really hoping that that doesn't happen. That at least we're involved in the conversations and informed. But I thank you for everything, and I'm so glad you two are spearheading that. Thank you.
In the interest of time, ditto.
Yeah. Thank you, Martin, for all the info.
Yes, great job, ladies. Very good. Just information, they're getting ready to put the lighted crosswalks in. They're marking it off. One is going northbound, and it's a blind corner just past the Hensley light. And so these semi trucks who are used to going down that road at 35, 40 miles an hour are not gonna see it. So they either have to have something that says crosswalk in use or a light that says it's in use so that they know to stop ahead of time and not all of a sudden there's that light, because I've seen it happen where they, just be careful because you don't see it. The other one up on 28, you can see coming, but this one right by the high school, it's just not, I don't see it. I don't even see the flashing lights that says go to 20 until I'm almost around the corner. So just be safe out there. But thank you again for all your hard work.
All right. Chair Knight.
Very informative meeting. Thank you so much. The only thing I might request is that a copy of tonight's handout gets sent out to us digitally. Just a little bit of a disadvantage not having that document in front of me. I would love to take a look at it on my leisure time. Thank you so much.
Oh, actually, that gives me a question. Could you see the presentation?
No, there was no screen sharing going on from my end.
Yeah, because of your computer thing.
Has you unplugged?
And I couldn't share the screen because I couldn't get on the Zoom because when I used the HDMI cord, I just didn't have enough time to figure that out without making everyone go crazy. So, okay, now I understand. We were trying to get a workaround with the projector not working, but.
There was a few technical difficulties at the ranch tonight. Okay. I want to thank you guys for putting all this together. It's a lot of good work. And thank everyone for their time this evening, and welcome to the new members, all of you. Your sentences. We look forward to working with you, and this is, we're in a great spot. We've done a lot of hard work to get to this point, and it's pretty exciting right now. So thank you all. Appreciate your time this evening, and we'll see you next month. And take a motion to adjourn.
I move that we.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.